What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Stand Tall. November 1st. I hope you all had a happy Halloween and enjoyed it. We are in chapter 1 of The Art of War, verse 22. If he is taking his ease, give him no rest. If his forces are united, separate them. And 23. Attack him where he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. Oh, yeah. No rest for the wicked. If he's taking rest, or if he's taking ease, give him no rest. This is kind of like one of those things in sports and competitions, where if someone's on top, they kind of get a little lax and they tend to give up the lead. I was reading a little life hack book. It was silly. We found it at one of the used bookstores, but I got it mainly so, like, as my son, as he grows older, could read something silly, little blurbs, whatever. But it said something like, never leave a sports game early. Like, most of the most historical games have occurred in the last little bit of the game. And we see that a lot even in today's day and age. But yes, let's go over here. Use humility to make them haughty. Use anger to throw them into disarray. So Master Sun says, use humility to make them haughty. Li Kuan says to this, if they ply you with expensive gifts and sweet talk, they are up to something. This is true. This is kind of like sales. Just don't come on too strong if you're plying someone with expensive gifts, or, I guess, like, even in the dating world, if you lavish somebody with gifts and everything, they just tend to, I don't know, see that as weird. I don't know. Do you? When you are stirred up and about to make their move, when they are stirred up and about to make their move, then you should pretend to be cowed, so as to raise their spirits. Wait for them to slack off, then regroup and attack. Mei Yao Chen says to this, give the appearance of inferiority and weakness to make them proud. I like Mei Yao Chen's. It's like, it's more relatable. Just make other people around you feel better than you, and you'll always be pretty much well liked. Just be confident in yourself and just know that you're employing that strategy. I mean, an inferiority can also not really just be weakness, it could be humility in a lot of ways. If you're humble, you're going to let the other person talk, and you're going to listen to the other person, and you're just going to let them feel proud. And I mean, okay, so, like, just like real world example, like one time when I was still building my first company, I had just been fed up with driving Uber and Lyft on the side, and so I went to pick up another serving job. And during the interview, I just asked the guy about himself. I was like, well, tell me about you. How did you get your position? And the rest of the interview, I never talked about myself, but I got hired because all he got to do was brag about how he got to where he was at, about how he was opening this restaurant, and all of that. So just keep stuff like that in mind the next time you're across the table from a counterpart or whatever. Be confident in yourself and just know what tactics you're employing. All right. Wang Chi says, appear to be lowly and weak so as to make them arrogant. Then they will not worry about you, and then you can attack them as they relax. So Master Sun says, tire them by flight. Let me hop back over here just to triple check. Attack him where he is unprepared. Appear where you are not expected. Okay, if his forces are united, separate them. Tire them by flight. Okay. Cao Cao says, use swiftness to wear them out. Wang Chi says, this means making a lot of surprise attacks. When they come out, you go home. When they go home, you go out. When they go to the aid of their left flank, you head to the right. When they go to the aid of their right flank, you go to the left. This way you can tire them out. Zhang Yu says, this way your strength will remain intact while they will be worn out. Cause division among them. Cao Cao says, send interlopers. Yep. Li Kuan says, break up their accords, cause division between the leadership and their ministers, and then attack. Dumu says, this means that if there are good relations between the enemy leadership and its followers, then you should use bribes to cause division. I mean, so, like, even back then, you have these military masterminds coming in and bribing the leaders. And maybe the fall, depending on that dichotomy. But even here in the art of war, it's talking about bribing to create rifts and division. And then you follow the money in today's day and age from political, super PACs and the media and everything, and where are they getting their money, the education system, and it starts to become pretty clear that we are at war, even in 2023. Jin Hao says, if they are stingy, you be generous. If they are harsh, you be lenient. That way, their leadership and followers will be suspicious of each other, and you can cause division between them. This to me means if you're a good leader, if you're generous, if you're doing the right things, this is like almost like stoic in the way of like just do the right things, treat your people the right way, and then the cream will rise to the top over time. Cream of the crop to the top. Du says, seduce them with the prospect of gain, send interlopers in among them, have rhetoricians use fast talk to ingratiate themselves with their leaders and followers and divide up the organization and power. So it's like sending in spies, I guess. Interlopers. Jing Yu says, you may cause rifts between the leadership and their followers or between them and their allies, cause division, and then take aim. All right. So that wraps that up. Almost. Let's go and read. We've got just a little bit more, and then we'll almost be done with chapter 1. And then we'll be able to move on to the second chapter for November. Or maybe the use of spies. We'll see. That would be the last chapter 13. Attack when they are unprepared. Make your move when they do not expect it. Cao Cao replies to Master Sun, attack when they are slacking off. Make your move when a gap opens up. Meng Shi. I don't know if we've ever heard from Meng Shi. Wow. Meng Shi, what's up? Where have you been? Hello, Meng Chi. Okay, Meng Chi says, strike at their gaps, attack when they are lax, don't let the enemy figure out how you prepare. This is why it is said that in military operations, formlessness is the most effective. One of the great warrior leaders said, the most efficient of movements is the one that is unexpected. The best of plans is the one that is unknown. Well, of course. If they can't see you, if they can't hear you, if they don't know what you're planning, that of course is the best. Of course, of course. Be silent, move with intention. November in the Daily Stoic by Ryan Holiday and Stephen Hanselman is about acceptance. I'm more fluffy. November 1st, accepting what it is. Don't seek for everything to happen as you wish it would, but rather wish that everything happens as it actually will. Then your life will flow well. Epictetus, Enchiridion 8. Okay. Like, as soon as you make the mental change that, like, everything that happens happens, and it's you who ascribes whether that was a good or a bad thing. So, for instance, in my career as an electrician, if I pull up and I'm trying to get started on a job or something and I realize I left something or don't have something, or messed up somehow, don't let it weigh you down and focus on it and be like, oh my God, I'm so dumb. I can't believe I did that. Or like, this ruins the whole thing. No, you just pivot and adapt, because listening to a lot of Alex Hormozy lately about like what is learning and the definition and like growth and change. And like, if you read a book and you don't change your behavior, and the book is about, how to be better or how to do this or how to do that, and you don't do anything, then you haven't learned. So for me, this means things will happen because life is life. Whether or not you ascribe good or bad, positive or negative, red or blue, black or white, whatever lens that you want to ascribe to it is your lens. And as soon as you just let go of all of those lenses and just accept it, pivot, and move on, you're just going to find that inner peace a lot quicker. Epictetus Discourses 1.6 1 to 2. It is easy to praise Providence for anything that may happen if you have two qualities: a complete view of what has actually happened in each instance and a sense of gratitude. Without gratitude, what is the point of seeing? And without seeing, what is the object of gratitude? Picticus, Discourses 1.6, 1 to 2. A complete view of what has actually happened in each instance and a sense of gratitude. Easy to praise Providence for anything that may happen if you have two qualities: accept it for what it is and be thankful. Just no matter what, everything plays out. You didn't get to start something on Monday. Well, it turns out Thursday's better, or Friday's better, or oh crap, we didn't bring XYZ material to the job. Okay, that's fine. We needed more time to plan anyway. I don't know, you just just be grateful for the mistakes and everything else. Be grateful for the happenstances, because the obstacle is the way, and it all is just life. Something happened that we wish had not. Which of these is easiest to change, our opinion or the event that has passed? The answer is obvious. Accept what happened and change your wish that it had not happened. Stoicisms call this the art of acquiescence, to accept rather than fight every little thing. Okay, I think I love that that these are all kind of like, we just read them and then follow up. There's no pre-planning for the most part. Sometimes I will hop on and read. I just read the Art of Wars, the two Art of Wars, just to make sure that I'm lining up. I don't really read these, so for him to come in and tell me the art of acquiescence is what I've been practicing and what has helped me realize an internal peace, not necessarily an internal happiness. Happiness is a fleeting emotion, but more or less of a, I now have a principle for dealing with things happening in my life. It's just change your wish that accept it, and don't care. Don't wish it hadn't happened or wish it did happen or whatever. You just accept it for what it is. Now the difficult thing is when positive things happen. Like you get a new lead on a new ad campaign. Doesn't mean anything. It's like, yes, got it. And you feel good, but you got to keep moving forward. And the most practiced Stoics take it a step further. Instead of simply accepting what happens, they urge us to actually enjoy what has happened, whatever it is. Nietzsche, many centuries later, coined the perfect expression to capture this idea: amor fati, a love of fate. Wow, I like that. That's one that you write down on the wall. Hi. Amor. Inscribed right below a Melinda Gates quote. It's not just accepting, it's loving everything that happens. To wish for what has happened to happen is a clever wait, hold on. To wish for what has happened to happen is a clever way to avoid disappointment, because nothing is contrary to your desires. But to actually feel gratitude, to love it, that's a recipe for happiness and joy. Oh wow. Accepting what it is. I think a lot of that is almost an antithesis to the art of war, right? So we're not trying to accept what it is. We're trying to strategize and make things play out to our favor. Here's an interesting summation of all of this and how it pertains to everyday life. I just picked up a book by Naomi Klein called Doppelganger, and in it she's discussing her so Naomi Klein is a an eco-feminist. She's on the left in a lot of ways, but a lot of her stuff, she doesn't necessarily agree with the liberal and left agenda. She has her she's raising flags about a lot of things that are important, and I think that it's very important that people read her books, especially the Shock Doctrine and this one. And that's because she's starting to lay out how Steve Bannon and his show, The War Room, and how he's a strategist and he is accepting things for what they are. Um, and I love how she puts this in the book because she never she just lays everything out in such a well written way, and I think it's just so interesting how she's portraying all of this and how this is actually relating to like the art of war and what happened during COVID and what's happening after and the January 6th and like all of the craziness that's happening in life these days. And she's putting it into words that say basically like the media and liberals have failed by not addressing some of these things that are obvious. And then for strategists like Steve Bannon, these are low hanging fruit for him to grasp onto and use sort of more or less art of war tactics. Um, and the liberals, from what I gain, are kind of more stoic. They're kind of like accepting things for what they are at face value, for what they're being told by the media, and that's kind of more or less a failure in her mind because there were important issues within the COVID crisis, like the effect of vaccines on reproductive health. And from her perspective as a feminist, that shouldn't have been handled the way it was, in the sense of like the media, instead of embracing these questions from people who, like me personally, like me and my wife were pregnant during all of this and all of the vaccine talk, and it created a pretty big rift. My personal story and all of that is not what's important here, but what's important is having the media not accepting things for what it was, in the sense, and saying, okay, like these are real concerns by people who watch us, and they ended up, they cared more about the ratings, they cared more about their viewership and the numbers rather than actually addressing the actual concerns. And so because of that, it fueled conspiracy theorists and it fueled their fire of like, well, they're obviously covering something up because they're, so like if they had just embraced it and addressed it, and given more room for public debate, I think we would have seen a more major difference. And I honestly do think, I think a lot of people need to read this book because the way that she um, offers solutions to issues like this in the future, I think a lot of us on the right, or especially us libertarian types or those in the middle who don't really know, could really benefit from this. I think you've got your left and your right, and you've got your right and your wrong. And I think Naomi Klein is on the left right side, like she's right about humans and about what we need. And from a religious perspective, I think if you're open to things on both the right and the left, you form this sort of sign of the cross in a way of like, you are now full, you are now complete, because you have the left side, the right side, and through the dichotomy of people and their disparate views, you're able to find what's right and wrong between your head and your heart. Okay, so there's a lot that I would love to say around that, but we need to keep standing tall and we need to be aware of this. And I think that Naomi Klein leads by example, in that regards, because she opens her mind. She watched the War Room. She listened to it. She was open to everything that Steve Bannon was saying, and she studied his strategies. And she basically said, like, there's a lot of people that are failing to do that, and this is why a lot of it happened, because liberals failed to open up and have a discourse. They just went with what they were told, trying to maintain the status quo instead of accepting open debate and having open public forums and everything like that. And that only led to fuel a lot of conspiratorial fires, which then leads right into the hands of media, whether it's mainstream media or not. These strategists who have, and I encourage you to look into Steve Bannon's history of employment long before Trump and what he's really smart about, gamifying things, wink, wink. So just be aware of people's intentions, And a lot of times that's money. Whereas we are trying to shift our attention away from money and focus on the warfare of life, not the warfare of life with other people, but the warfare of life within ourselves. So that's why we want to keep standing tall. Thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one.